Okay, in this chapter, I'm going to do a little security overview for ASP.NET Core. In security for any kind of application, there are two big pieces, and those pieces are authentication and authorization. So authentication covers the question, who are you? And this is the stuff that Azure App Service Security is handling for you. Then we have the other part, which is authorization, and that's the what can you do part. What are your permissions? And Azure App Service Security is kind of handling this in that it's either letting you into the application or it isn't. So if you can authenticate, it lets you into the application, and if you can't authenticate, it doesn't let you into the application. Now that authorization stuff is usually a core part of your application logic, and it answers, like I said before, what is the user allowed to do? And this starts to bring up some questions about how you're going to treat those user permissions. Where are you going to store those user permissions? And how do you check those user permissions inside of your application logic? You have role-based security and claims-based security. Let's tackle role-based security first. So let's say that you have sample roles in your applications like administrators, users, power users, sales, and marketing. However you take care of it, you put a user into that role, and then depending on whether or not the user is a member of that role, the application decides whether or not to let those people in or not in for those features. Role-based security has been with us in .NET since the beginning, but now we've got something called claims. And role-based security in ASP.NET Core, in .NET Core, is riding on top of something called claims-based security. Now, claims-based security goes beyond role-based security. And now your authorization, your what can you do, is based on a list of claims. And claims answer questions like what or who does the user claim to be? What does the user claim to be able to do? And while it feels like they're permissions, they aren't necessarily only permissions. Claims could be things like age, name, email address, or even the roles. And what I think is cool and helpful about claims-based security is that claims have what I think of as context. Let's compare it to role-based security. So role-based security, it's just a role. A user is a member of the role or they're not. And a role, really, if you're starting to look at the code, is just a string. A string that's the name of that role. Well, claims have a little bit more to them. They're key value pairs. So you get the claim type, what is the type of claim, and then what is the value of that claim. So role-based security is one thing, the role. Claims-based security is two things, claim type, claim value. So remember I said that role-based security in ASP.NET Core rides on top of claims-based security? So with this, you can do more advanced things like asking the question, is the user X a member of role Y for item Z? Where role-based security can only ask the question, is the user a member of role Y? So that's a very high-level overview of security in general and a little bit about ASP.NET Core. Next up, let's dive a little bit deeper into authorization in ASP.NET Core.